The most important conversation you'll ever have is the one you have with yourself. There's a voice that guides you through life. When sometimes it's guiding you in a direction that you don't want to go, that's usually the right place to go. The things I was most afraid of, I cowered from. I had to start facing these things and becoming an expert at the things I feared the most.
Yeah.
Top 10, I got a top 10. Got my motivation high for my top 10. Gotta learn from the wise women and men. All my life, like 9 and 9. For my top 10, top 10, 9 and 9. This one's for my top 10.
Need motivation?
Watch Top 10 with Believe Nation.
Hey, it's Evan Carmichael, and this channel was created to help you overcome the #1 challenge that is holding you back, a lack of belief in yourself. You watch these videos because you know there's something greater inside you. You have Michael Jordan level talent at something. So get ready to triple down on your weaknesses, escape your comfort zone, and listen to your inner voice with David Goggins and my take on his top 10 rules of success, volume 15, to give you the motivation, confidence, and belief that you need. Enjoy. Okay, let's kick it off with rule number 1, triple down on your weaknesses.
If you're fat, and you look in the mirror and you say, wow, I eat a little too much. No, you're f***ing fat.
My exoskeleton is larger than yours.
Right, no.
That's the new one, right?
Yeah, I mean, you cannot say that to yourself.
No.
But see, you have to make a list of the things that you don't like to do. This list should be very long. Like, if you don't like making calls, the very first thing you should do is start making a ton of calls. Because why? That begins to own you.
Yes.
You start to drive yourself this way versus this way. But you'll figure out, if you start making a whole bunch of calls, if you like calling, call a lot.
Yeah.
Guess what happens?
You get over it.
You get over it. So what we do a lot is, I heard a lot of people say, triple down on this, triple down on mostly your strength.
Yeah.
No. That works for a lot of things, but when you're afraid and you don't have the courage, you have to triple down on your weaknesses and make that become where you start to guide yourself. Okay, I don't like calling. Today I'm making 100 calls.
Yeah.
I'm gonna dial 100 times.
Rule number 2, escape the comfort zone.
Whenever life would start getting good for me, God would throw a nice anchor and stop me right there. So I'm going through pararescue training, and there's this evolution called water confidence. And water confidence is pretty much what gets people kicked out of special forces, special operations, is the water. And they try to drown you, pretty much. This was not in the warning order, so I didn't know anything about water confidence. Long story short, what it is they put 16-pound weight belts on you, whatever they can do to make you uncomfortable in the water. So for 6 weeks of a 10-week program, I became very uncomfortable. We got down to about 25, 30 guys left. I was one of them. And getting near graduation of this program, I'm thinking, my God, I'm about to get through this. Barely, though. Water confidence is killing me.
Right.
They took me to medical. They drew my blood and realized I have sickle cell.
Yeah.
So sickle cell is a blood disease that some African Americans have, which is not good.
No.
So they took me out training for a week. And when you go from being uncomfortable, that's your lifestyle, you get used to being uncomfortable.
Right.
When you go back to being comfortable, your mind says, I don't want to go back to being uncomfortable again.
That's right.
So I was like, I don't want to go back to the water. So my whole mindset was, I want to get out of this training. So I was hoping that they were going to medically disqualify me from pararescue program. That didn't happen. A week later, the doc called me in the office and said, hey, guess what, man? We're going to put you back in the training. I was like, okay, well, I missed a week. I got about 2.5 weeks left. I can do this. I went back to the, to the CEO, the commanding officer. He said, hey, guess what? We're going to start you back from day one. And when he said that to me, my mind went back to the old David Goggins. So I thought I had changed.
Yeah.
Learn how to swim, learn how to read and write. All I was doing was attacking the surface. I wasn't getting down into the dungeon of what was really bothering me. So whenever like tough times would happen, any tough time that would, really tough time that would happen, I would go back to the sewer of my mind. So this happened, I went back to lying. I said, hey, you know what, CEO? This guy, the doc didn't know about sickle cell. He didn't give me a good reason why. He's talking about sudden death, heart attack, stroke. I'm not comfortable. So he gave me a medical from pararescue. So he allowed me to leave. But I really quit. I didn't want to go back in the water again.
Right.
And that's when I went from weighing 175 pounds to 297 in about 3.5 years.
Wow.
So I did a job called TAC-P, controlling fast movers behind enemy lines. But that job wasn't a job that I wanted. And the spiral of depression, of trying to find things that I was comfortable doing. And whenever you find things that you're comfortable doing, you're going away from the journey of life. And I was going so far away from my journey that my weight showed my whole mindset.
Rule number 3, listen to your inner voice.
We all have a voice in our head. Some of us are very spiritual, some of us are not, but we all have this voice and you're doing up shit. This is wrong, don't do that. The more you don't listen to that voice, the further that voice gets away from your head. Some people call it the Holy Spirit, some people call it God, some monks, whatever you call it. It's there. We all have it. It's the right or wrong voice. But the more we don't listen to it, the more that voice goes away. And the only voice you hear is yourself. When the only voice you hear is yourself, you're wrong. There's a voice that guides you through life. When sometimes it's guiding you in a direction that you don't want to go, that's usually the right place to go. It's that uncomfortable place. So that voice is always talking to me, but we don't listen to it. I listen to it.
Rule number 4, revisit your scars.
I had to literally, so we get scarred. And the thing about it is, like, if you were in the kitchen and you're cutting up cucumbers, you cut your finger. It happened 30 years ago. That scar is still there. They say, what happened to your finger? Guess what you do? I was in the kitchen one day, I was cutting up cucumbers, cut my finger. You have those scars in your brain from life. But what we don't do is we try to hide those scars. We don't want to go back and revisit it. This is not as simple as a cucumber, cutting a cucumber. So I started realizing that my life was causing a whole bunch of scarring on my brain. And I had to go back, while I wrote this book, I had to go back and really break open that scar and let it bleed. And that was a very painful journey for me to go back, because right now this is all surface. Learning disability, call me nigger, it's all surface. I get deep into
that
it
a lot of people have dealt with that stuff.
Yeah, very sad. But the way I talk about in the book, I'm getting your hand, and I'm taking you back there with me. As that kid in that classroom who opens up his Spanish notebook. I'm sitting in the back, because I had a 4th grade reading level. I'm in the back. I opened my Spanish notebook. On the first page, they had a hangman drawing of me saying, nigger, we're gonna kill you. Very back, I'm a sophomore in high school, nothing but white people. I shut that thing up and I leave class.
Also, if you want to have more motivation and self-love, check out my 254 series. They're free. The links to join are in the description below.
Everything I didn't want to do is what got me to where I'm at today. You can outwork anybody. What if I can become someone that no one thinks I can be? And just me talking about that, I have the hair going up on my arms.
Rule number 5, figure out your mind.
A buddy of mine calls me the other day and says he's having trouble running past 8 miles. This is a guy who can run 30 miles any time of the day. So I tell him to come out to my house and we'll get some runs in. So he comes out, he goes, man, I'm telling you, I can't run past 8 miles. But I realize in his life, he's added a new kid, more responsibilities at work, all this stuff. He's not thinking about this, I am. So I take him out for a run. We get 30 minutes into it. How far are we going, Goggins? I ain't tell him. Get an hour into it, I ain't tell him. Hour and a half into it, didn't tell him. So soon he shuts up. We run 3 hours. The guy does fine. Next day we go out there, he's able to run 20 miles again. So this is what happened to him. His circuit breaker blew. Our minds are very similar to circuit breakers. When they blow, you gotta figure out what it is. Sometimes you just add it too much to your plate. Go back in your mind and figure it out. Stay hard.
Rule number 6, be willing to suffer.
If you're willing to suffer and go back in the grind, that internal dialogue you have with yourself when you're in misery and you're uncomfortable, it's a real, scary, unfiltered, no lying dialogue between you and yourself. And people know exactly what the I'm talking about when you're in a bad spot in life and your mind is saying all kind of shit. That's who you really are. That's the real you. No Rocky Balboa moments going on up there. You're like, hey, it's around 14. Let's come on. We got this. No, it's like, this. I'm out of here, man. This is crazy. That's where the growth happens. When you're able to stay in that moment and talk yourself back into the suck of whatever you're going through, and you start stripping those layers away. But as you're stripping those layers away, you're building calluses over top of shit in your mind. That's where the growth starts to happen, is when you have to force yourself to stay in it. You can't leave it.
Rule number 7, run into your fears.
The most important conversation you'll ever have is the one you have with yourself. Mm-hmm. You wake up with it, you walk around with it, eventually you'll act on it. Mm-hmm. And my self-talk was the most disgusting self-talk of all time. Mm. So the sewer of my mind, like I said, you have to go back in there and fix things. A lot of us are afraid. Like right now, 20 years ago, you wouldn't find me on this show. I was too embarrassed to tell you I stuttered, I lied, all these different things, getting beat up, getting bullied, whatever happened. But that's where the true transformation starts to happen. When you can look at people, anybody, thousands of people, one person, and say, hey, this is who I am. And this is where I have to fix myself. And this is where it really happened. I thought it happened when I was in, 19, 18 years old trying to pass this military test. Right. It happened here when I was almost 300 pounds, spraying for cockroaches, making $1,000 a month. And, people called me dumb. My dad called me so many things, not even funny. Being beat just stripped me of all self-esteem. This is when I realized I was alone on this earth. Yeah. I have God alone on this earth, and I have to fix everything. So this is where I started to develop an indestructible mental toolbox. Okay. So I came home one night after spraying for cockroaches at Ecolab, and literally I was praying at Steak and Shake, and I would go across the street to 7-Eleven. I had a 45-minute commute home. So I worked from 11 o'clock at night to 7 o'clock in the morning. Okay. I had a 45-minute commute home. And my stop would be, Steak and Shake, chocolate milkshake, across the street, 7-Eleven, box of mini chocolate donuts, and I would eat that on the way home.
Yeah, sure.
When I come home, I turn the TV on, I take my shake because the box of donuts they were killed.
Oh, yeah.
I kill those. Yeah. Go back to the back, turn the TV on and take a shower. Listen to the TV while I'm taking a shower. This day I heard these guys on the TV talking about Navy SEAL, toughest, class 224. So I heard stuff about Navy SEALs. These are the baddest of the baddest. Yeah. So I come out, and I'm watching this show while I'm drinking my shake. And when you're watching the show of guys who are putting out there, and they're quitting left and right. Oh, sure. Just can't handle it. They're going through Hell Week. They show them going through first phase, second phase, third phase, and they're dropping like flies. I looked in this one guy's eyes who was ringing the bell to quit, to put his helmet down out of Navy SEAL training, and I saw myself. And I saw what everybody said I was going to be, which was nothing. What I said I was going to be, that conversation you have, that's who I was. So that's why I lied to people to tell them a different version of the truth. Sure. I had to make all those lies reality. I had to make them real. I had to become a real person. So that's when I put in my mind that I'm going to go to the toughest military training on the planet. And where it has the most water, the thing I was scared of the most, I had to go back. So a lot of us run away from our fears. Sure. And we box ourselves in to a lifestyle of this is all we can do. Right. 'Cause I'm afraid of everything outside this box. Yeah. So I'm comfortable inside this box. I jumped the box.
Oh, you did, yeah.
For the first time in my life. Mentally, I jumped the box and said, hey, I got to come out here and play.
Rule number 8, discover your true potential.
I'm the only person in the history of the military who has ever gone through Air Force Tactical Air Control Party training, Army Ranger School where I was an Army man, in 3 Hell Weeks. Yeah. So only person to ever do that. But the reason why I did it was when I was a young kid, I considered myself very weak. Very weak. And as I started developing this indestructible mental toolbox, because what I realized was the things I was most afraid of, I cowered from. I had to start facing these things and becoming an expert at the things I feared the most. Yeah. I was afraid of my own mind. My mind would get off on these crazy places of woe is me. My internal conversation wasn't great. Yeah. So I had to start mastering it. Once I started mastering it, in the horrible place I was at, I was literally, I consider myself the worst person ever alive. That was my conversation. But once I started mastering my own life, I started realizing, my God, man, this was in me.
Yeah.
I was a 300-pound fat guy. Now I'm 181 pounds, 190 pounds, whatever it was. I'm gonna go through all these hell weeks. So I started realizing the capabilities of the human soul and the human mind.
Rule number 9, study the bad stuff.
What's the best advice you've ever received?
I didn't receive any advice. And that's the thing about it. When I grew up, I just didn't receive any advice. My family was in such turmoil that the best advice I received is from myself. And that has to be to study yourself, all the bad, because the good's already there. You need to study that. Study the bad stuff about yourself and learn from that and grow.
And rule number 10, the last one for a very special bonus clip, is be who you are.
The truth of the starting line. We live in a world that's very unauthentic. So who the f are you? What do you stand for? What do you believe in? You know, a lot of people don't like what I say. A lot of people hate that I cuss. A lot of people hate a lot of things about me. I don't give a shit. When you find out who you are, that's when you start living your life. Don't fit in just for the sake of fitting in your life. Make sure that you have something to say it. Social media nowadays is one of the biggest forms of being fake in the world. People buy likes, people buy friends, people buy comments, all this bullshit. Make sure in life you do what you have to do, say what you have to say, and live the life you have to live. Don't walk around being a fake human being. Don't be scared to be who you are. Stay hard.
Now I have a special bonus clip from David on how there's no overnight success that I think you're gonna enjoy. But before that, it's time for the 3-point landing questions. Let's go from just watching a video to taking action. Here we go. Question number 1. What is the fear that you just need to run into? Number 2, what is your inner voice telling you to do? And number 3, what's the weakness that you need to triple down on? And if you like this video and promise to take action after watching it, we don't just watch videos, we do something. Give me a hashtag believe in the comments and then keep that promise to yourself and get to work.
People put a title on me. They put a big, so they see the David Goggins of today.
Yeah.
The David Goggins of today is some guy who's considered the world's toughest man, blah, 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 blah.
And people are like, I want that.
I want that.
But they don't know what you went through, which is what we're gonna get into today.
Right, so what I did was, a lot of people think they can't get this.
Yeah.
Because once they put a title on somebody, it becomes unreachable for everybody else because I'm Superman.
Yeah.
This book lets you know that I'm the furthest thing from Superman.
Yeah.
And that's why I did it. It is a very raw, real version of the hell I went through growing up as a kid and all the pitfalls. And so this isn't like a story that, you know, you had that, all those stories, you had this thing, you get over this one hurdle and then you're successful.
Yeah.
No.
It's the hero's journey, right?
There's no hero's journey.
From breakdown to breakthrough. This is like,
this is
suffer,
breakdown,
suffer, suffer,
break
suffer,
down,
suffer.
break down some more, suffer, 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 suffer. Oh, I made it. Suffer some more, suffer some more, suffer some more.
Yeah.
So this book isn't like some nice, clean story where the guy just triumphs over the one tragedy in his life and he makes it.
No. And he writes a book about it.
No, this is real life.
If you want to know why your comfort zone is destroying your life, check out the video right there next to me. I think you'll enjoy it. Continue to believe, and I'll see you there.